Welcome back to another episode of the Breadwinner Energy Podcast. Today, I have the most famous, I have one of my favorite humans on this earth, on this podcast, my hypnotherapist, my husband's hypnotherapist, my client, my friend, and an amazing, like I can't even describe. She's going to show you how amazing she is today. But her work, when I say life-changing, this work is life-changing. Her story, who she is, the way that she navigates her client work, the way that she understands the brain through not only her own life, but her skills of hypnotherapy. So today, I would love to introduce you all to Morgan Zack.
Thank you. I'm just like sitting here. I'm like, I'm just gonna like receive that so much, like just open my heart and like let that flood in. Thank you so much, Tay.
You're welcome. So Morgan has a podcast, Power to Pain to Power, and on her podcast, I was recently on it as well as that is what her work encompasses, from
Yep.
taking your pain and turning it into power. She is a walking, living, breathing version of that. And I love to be surrounded by women who are not only following that mission, but also helping other women through their story, through their mission of pain to power. And I want you to tell us your story. I would love for everyone here to know more about you, where you came from, all
Yeah.
the things.
Well, before I do that, I just want to say the reason I'm in Tay's world, and I think this is important and like to for your audience to hear, and she's not paying me to say this, but this is the truth, is the reason I'm in Tay's world is I am really good at what I do, but I'm very spiritual and I'm very sensitive, and so doing things in business really fucking scares me. And I had you on my podcast and we talked about this, but you are really good at business and understanding like from the healer perspective. And so that's how I know Tay, and I'm so grateful to be in her world because nobody has been able to understand. Like I've had people understand like the healer and the business, but the way you mesh it together is I don't have words. Like it's just easy. It's easy. And so if there's anybody listening that's been on the fence of like, should I work with Tay? I don't know. Yes. If your fucking gut is like, I don't know, the answer is yes. So my name is Morgan. I have a really deep story. I am a Scorpio stellium. I'm a Scorpio sun, I'm a Gemini rising, and I'm a Sag moon. And I have four placements in Scorpio and five placements in Sag. So I'm very like depth oriented and like off this planet at the same time. And I think that's what makes me really good at what I do. So I am a trained hypnotherapist, trained hypnotist. In Canada, we cannot call ourselves hypnotherapists because I'm legally not a therapist, and I've done that on purpose. I do not want to be put in a box where I'm told this is how you help people because I have been failed horribly by the systems that we have in society. So let's rewind all the way to childhood. I am an only child, and I've always been a very like sensitive being. I absorbed everything from my parents, and I grew up in a very toxic household where my mother was an alcoholic and my dad was there but not present. So think of like emotionally absent, right? He witnessed the alcoholism go on, didn't have my back. And so I grew up like literally alchemizing the energy in the home. And doing that over time was a lot. Like, to feel the chaos of a toxic household was a lot. And I didn't have any like life skills or really understand anything but pain because like that's all I knew was just like toxicity. I didn't have any brothers or sisters. I was a loner at school because I was different. I didn't get along with anybody. Like the whole I'm a light worker, but didn't know what the fuck that was as a child. So like I'm just like super weird, like just the weirdest kid, and nobody liked me, and I got made fun of. And then I have a household that's terrible. So I have like nowhere to go. So watching my mother be an alcoholic, I went down that route. Even though I was like, this is terrible,
Yeah.
I didn't know. often with addiction, you hear a lot of people's stories like this that we go we end up copying our parents, even though it's what caused us pain.
Yeah.
But we don't know what else to do. Like I didn't know how to regulate my nervous system. I didn't know how to deal with emotions. So I started at 14 smoking weed and drinking, and I was like, and then started doing MDMA, and I was like, this is amazing. Like this is just like the answer to all my problems. And then I started to develop mental health issues as well as like a severe addiction. So I ended up becoming I was addicted to cocaine, I was addicted to Oxycontin, and GHB, MDMA, and then eventually meth. It was so intense. And it was like, I just kept going down this path of like, I needed more numbing, more numbing, more numbing. And because the more I went into this addiction hole, what happens is, and if anybody here has ever struggled with addiction, you'll know this, you're like the pain that you're running from doesn't go anywhere, right? It just keeps getting louder. And so you have to numb it more. So I eventually, at 27, I'm 38 now, ended up living in a motel, like the dirtiest motel, with my boyfriend at the time, who was doing B&Es for us to survive, smoking meth. And there were people there that were looking to pimp girls out. And they were like, I was up next. I was at this motel. This motel, I guess, had been run by these people. I didn't know that. And I was just like an innocent girl in a really bad situation. Like I was just like, I got myself in a lot of trouble. I didn't realize how much trouble I was in. And that was my rock bottom. When that happened, I was like, holy shit, like, what am I doing here? Like, how this isn't a joke. Like, I am really in something terrible. And so at the age of 27, my recovery journey started. And that was pretty rocky because I just did I just did addiction recovery. I didn't know that all of this trauma, I didn't even know I had trauma that I had been running from for my whole life was going to get really loud and be back in my life.
Yeah.
So here I am at like 30 now, like I've been sober from drugs. I'm drinking now, like, because I'm like, well, all this stuff's in the background. And I'd been to like throughout this whole course of using and my life, I'd been to therapy. I'd been to talk therapy, psychologist, psychiatrist. I'd been on medication. I'd done what you're supposed to do. And I say that in quotations, and nothing worked. Like I was either on antidepressants, numb, that I'm not feeling anything, or I'm not on antidepressants and I'm losing my shit and permanently dissociated. So I'm like, and having panic attacks and can't function. So I eventually found a mentor who was doing energy healing. And at this point, I was like, I don't care. This sounds different. Like, I don't care what you're selling. Like, if it's different, perfect. So I went down the route of alternative healing. And I guess it was like kind of like Reiki, if you would, but it was so she would like go into my energy and she could see my chakras, she could see my timelines, and she could help me clear them. And that really helped. That really helped. And then that sort of started me on this snowball of like alternative health. Like I became obsessed, right? So I started meditating probably at the age of 19. Um, but then really at I think around like 30, became obsessed with alternative health. And energy healing then snowballed into me learning about hypnosis. And it was so weird. It was like I'd heard somebody like talk about hypnosis at, well, let me just put this back a little bit. So I was doing energy healing and I realized I'm supposed to help people. Like all of this shit that I've been through is crazy. And I like me getting sober, that was like my only wish at one point, was me getting sober. I was like, if I can just get sober, I've made it in life. And like that is how intense it was. And then I was like, no, I'm meant to help people. And so if you then it was like the initiation of becoming an entrepreneur. So there was like so much personal development work. So it was like just getting me out of my own trauma into actual personal development work of working on my character, of working on my voice, of just normal personal development work.
Yeah.
And I was at this, I had another business mentor and somebody came on and talked about hypnosis and it like just was like, yes, that's it. Like
Mhm.
I just knew. And so then I started doing hypnosis as treatment for for myself.
Yeah.
Because and I loved it. And I was like, this is so good. And I was like, okay, amazing. I'm going to start doing this. And then I shit you not, like everything was kind of going smoothly. And on the eclipse 2 years ago, I was sexually harassed from somebody in the company I was working for, and I was right back into trauma. Like it, like so, like the worst PTSD I'd ever experienced. I thought I experienced like PTSD as a child. This was, this was like I couldn't function. I didn't sleep for 15 months. I would spend every night paranoid that he was going to come to my house because I'd spoken up. And speaking up, like just use it. Like I'd never used my voice my whole life. I was always like, be a, like the doormat, like the codependent, the don't talk, don't, um, don't be a good girl, be like I was kind of unhinged always, but I was always like, be quiet.
Yeah.
Like
Acceptable.
my yeah, be acceptable. Like my throat was so blocked. So me standing up for myself, like my body forced me to because I physically couldn't work. And so I spent 15 months in bed, petrified, like literally 15 months. I didn't leave my house. And in the I think like actually a month after that happened, the hypnosis thing was available like to do my training. And out of like pure adrenaline, I went and did this training. And then everything kind of like fell apart. And so I'm like building my business of being a hypnotist and helping people and going through literally the worst thing ever. And we actually talked about this earlier. There's no way that I could be successful if I didn't go through that, if I didn't have PTSD,
Yeah.
which is, I mean, it's irritating to say that, but it was like as I was going through this massive spiritual awakening, because PTSD, if you anybody have experienced it,
Yeah.
like you have to look at every part of you. And it was like, and I knew when it happened, I was like, this is God, putting me where I'm supposed to be. I, from a higher perspective, knew, but then I had to be in my human because, like, I couldn't live this life at this job 12 hours a day and be in my genius. Like, it couldn't work.
Yeah.
So I have slowly, like, built a business of being a hypnotherapist. And you asked me the other day, do you consider yourself a practitioner? And I was like, not really. And then you were like, do you consider yourself a master? And I was like, yes. So I really like consider myself a master of the mind, a master of our parts. So we have like different parts of us that are always living with us. And I'm really, really, really good at helping people understand where their blind spots are in their own life. And I do that in the alpha theta state in hypnosis by working with the subconscious mind.
Yeah.
There's my like TED talk.
I love it. First of all, thank you for sharing your story. I have heard it before and just feel like every time I hear your story, I like have tears. I feel just like this is not only why I do what I do, but
Mhm.
to be surrounded by women, specifically you and the women in my community, right? Who make you feel seen and supported and normal. And that was the one thing I specifically remember working with you is that one of our mutual friends, Allison, had recommended I go to you for hypnotherapy because I also have PTSD, a lot of my own healing, and I had been to every modality of healing, and I just felt like I wasn't moving forward. And so I come to you. And the number one thing that I picked up immediately from you is you made me feel so normal. Going back,
Mm.
we share a lot of the same story, right? And going back to high school, going back to school and being I didn't grow up with my siblings. I grew up alone and weird and just strange and bullied and always felt like an outcast, right? But then with you, whenever you would explain things, you made it seem so normal. Like that's how your brain works. Of course you feel that way. And I felt so seen and so supported in ways that I was like, oh my God, everybody needs Morgan. Everybody needs to go through hypnotherapy. When I say it changed my life, I mean, to the point where I had not had my stomach rest and digest for years, not a single noise. I was in chiropractic care for years and all these different modalities of care for years. I go to Morgan for 12 hours of hypnotherapy, and for the first time ever, my stomach is actually resting and digesting daily. And I'm like, right? And I start losing weight and I start feeling better and I'm working like codependency and like feeling like a brand new human. And I'm like, I am shook. Like when I went, I wasn't a skeptic, but I also wasn't like, this will fix me. I was like in the middle, right? Because
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know, I've done all the things. And I am floored. I like tell everyone, I'm like, everyone should see Morgan. She is the best. She's been a guest expert twice. Now she's on the podcast. Like it has changed my life. And I have my husband in hypnotherapy, but let's go back because I literally wrote 2 pages of notes. I'm like, I don't want to miss a thing. I have
Oh
so
my
many
God.
things to talk about. Also, I want to touch on this too. The alcohol, the drugs, this part. Okay. So
Mm.
my mother is also an alcoholic. Grandmother was an alcoholic, addicted to pills. Brother was on addicted to pills and shrooms and cocaine. My dad was an alcoholic and killed himself. Like my entire family line is drugs and alcohol. And when I was younger, I even dated a murderer. I didn't know he was a murderer at the time. I found out because he was in prison and I couldn't get a hold of him. Like no one knows that. I think it's the first time I've ever talked about this.
Really?
When I was young, I was just lost, I think. I was looking for acceptance in every place, right?
Mm.
And same through PTSD. And the one thing that let me say this is the second thing that Morgan has brought to me that Morgan doesn't know. I've never openly shared this, and I'm hoping I'm not going to cry. I've spent my entire life, I'm 30, almost 33, in survival from a very young age to being an adult. I've known nothing but survival up until pretty recently, really. And I ran my business from survival. I was a mother from survival. I've been a wife through survival. And I treated my clients in a way of do the thing, make the money to survive. But I didn't exactly know that that was where it came from. And I met Morgan and I've been through hypnotherapy. And now I look at people and clients from a place of pure empathy in a way that like I've never been able to look at people before. And not from a hateful place that I like didn't love people dearly. It was just like my survival brain didn't allow me to see people from a place of empathy and coach clients from this place of empathy and coach people from this place of like, if that doesn't work for you, let's find a better way. I was just in the past, I was like, let's just do the thing to where now I have this deep, deep empathy for not only myself, my own inner child, but the women around me to be like, it's okay to be a highly sensitive person because I was taught not to be. And it's now allowed me to call in women into my world who are like my magical soul sister people who are sensitive and intuitive and gifted, where I get to bring my business brain to them. But I just want to say thank you because you opened this door, this light of looking at people in a new way with empathy. And I also want to touch on that from this place is I feel like people listening to me, to Morgan, to what we do, I feel like everything that you think counts you out is actually what makes you the master of your work, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
You know, being being a person, I believe it like so I'm very attached to the stars. This is not something I'm like, oh, I just love astrology. Like that's not how this happened.
Yeah.
I at 18 was like, why the fuck at every May, literally, and it's coming up, and I'm like, every fucking time it goes to spring and May happens, I lose my shit. And nobody could tell me why. There was no incident in May. There's no trauma. And I eventually found out that that's when my 12th house transit happens. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, this is a joke. Like, and I've like seen psychics and they're like, you are part of the stars. And so I don't know where I was going with it. Oh, so I'm very in tune with astrology, not by choice. It's just part of my life. Okay. Like now that I'm aware of it, I kind of just watch. I'm like, okay, I just like I watch it things unfold and it's always bang on. So I'm being a Scorpio and I'm in the beginning of a Scorpio. So I'm a new Scorpio. I'm like
Yeah.
3 degrees Scorpio.
Okay.
Ugh. Like, let me tell you, it is, I love it because the juice that you get out of the pain that I go through is so magical. But
Yeah.
when I'm in it, like, I resist it. I am like not good at being in it.
Me neither.
Okay. Like I resist change. I'm also like autistic, so like I don't like change. I don't like things like, I don't want to let go of control, which is also, I know that that is like a trauma response, but like I like things like if something I found something works, like I like it like that.
Yeah.
Like don't fuck with it.
Yeah.
But that is like goes against how I'm built.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like what we go, like I could not help you and I could not help the people I help if I have not been ahead of you in hell, right? So I'm
Yes.
just in hell a little more deeper than most people. But it hasn't scarred me.
Yeah.
It hasn't taken from me, which is really beautiful. But every person I sit with, I always level with them. I'm always like, I want you to know I'm not better than you. I used to be an addict. I got clean. I had my own trauma, and I don't do this work because I decided to do this on a weekend course. Like this is my soul's path, right?
Yes. Yes.
And and yeah, like if you didn't go through everything you went through, you
Yeah.
wouldn't be able to coach from an honest place of being able to be like you're going through emotion is business as well. Like
Yeah.
you can't read this shit in a book, right? Like that's necessary to be a trained whatever. And
Yeah.
I don't want to shit on people that are trained to do something only, but I feel like I really do feel like life experienced mixed with training
Yep.
is a golden pot. Like it just is.
Yeah. 1000%. I think too, we talked about this earlier today, is there are women who are highly sensitive, empaths, that are also built in the underworld, right? Like that's my person, that's my client avatar. You're built in the underworld. And the underworld is where I spend most of my time. I'm an eighth house sun, right? And I'm also a Taurus, so I'm super grounded, but I'm also, and then I have 12th house, lots of prominent 12th house placements, right? My entire life is the underworld. It's death and rebirth. People just don't really know that about me because I've just, cracked that door open more recently that like it swallows me whole when I'm in it too. I feel like I'm drowning. And I also don't want to let go of control, being autistic and super earthy, right? And at the same time, it's what builds it's what builds your business. It's what builds your wealth. It's what builds you long term. Because, like you said, there's a million people in the world that have skills, and there's nothing wrong with that. But there is not anything more powerful and life changing than someone who has a skill that came from the underworld. They have that life experience that's tied to it because I can't, I would have never told a student 5 years ago that emotions are part of scaling, that your being in the underworld is actually part of the journey. I shamed and hid that side of me for so long because I felt like this doesn't make me professional and what will people think of me? And right, where now I have this new perspective of like, this is the shit that makes you. This is the shit that creates the success and in the connection. And then being able to build the business in this way and meet women now like you, I'm like, holy shit, this is it. This is
Mhm.
how, right, it happened. So let's go to, I want you to tell everyone now about, how do I want to say this? I want you to tell women why you think, how do I want to say it? Like, I want you to speak to the woman who's like, I feel like something and I can't really understand what that feeling is. But I've done the therapy and the mindset and I've done the things. Why is hypnotherapy the answer, you think?
Well, doing all the things, right? You're only doing all the things with part of your brain. So
Yeah.
it's like working out your arm.
Yeah.
So, so the conscious mind is made up of 10% of the brain. The subconscious and unconscious are made up of 90%. So it's literally like working out a finger, like your hand, right? So it's like great, you understand that you need to pick up a dumbbell, but like if you don't use the rest of your body, you're not going to get fit, you're not going to get strong.
Yeah.
And like that's a new analogy that just came to me, but this is like you are going to use part of your brain to try to process things that don't live in the front part of your brain, right?
Mhm.
You cannot process trauma with logic. Trauma is in the body and in the subconscious. It's in patterns. It's in it's in your hardwiring. And so hypnosis and subconscious work gets into the wiring. I think of it like, the motherboard of a computer, or think of it like you're living in you're a video game and you have all these things that are set up for this video game. And then, but you talk to the video game and you're like, okay, video game, we want you to be different. And the video game is like, yeah, I understand, but this is how I'm wired.
Yeah.
In hypnosis, we can unplug and replug in things that are your patterns, your loops, how you think, how you feel, where you learn things, why you learn them for survival. And then we get to change that thought, that loop, that trauma into a better way of thinking. And it's not just, oh, I'm going to think a more positive thought or like money, yay, like more money money grows on trees. If that goes against your core belief system, that's actually going to make things worse. So doing mindset work when your internal core belief is that I don't have like money doesn't grow on trees or
Yeah.
money is hard to make actually will be worse for you. So sometimes people are like, I'm going to do affirmations today. And they're like, why do I feel shittier when I look in the mirror and say, I'm really confident, I'm amazing?
Yeah.
Because your core belief is like yelling at you, being like, no, you're not. No, you're
Yeah.
not. And so by going into the hard wiring, we can figure out where, first of all, so because I'm autistic and because I'm a Sag moon, I need to know why about everything, right? So when I take people into hypnosis, it is like I need to get to the root of the root of the root. Like
Yeah.
we need to dig under the surface and then we need to like check to see if there's like more roots that are hidden. And so we essentially pluck all the roots out
Yeah.
and plant new seeds, if you will.
I
And
taught I teach that exact analogy with pulling out the roots and planting the new seeds. Go on.
really?
Sorry. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I'm like eating this up. I'm like, yes, I'm a Sag Moon. I'm autistic. This is me.
So, I really realized later, like, it's actually really cool being autistic. I mean, I feel like if you're too autistic, it affects you. Like it can help stop you from being able to function. And
Yeah.
I mean, it probably does in some ways. Like I can't do a lot of things, but I think I'm just enough autistic and enough spiritually awakened that it makes me genius,
Same.
right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So if you've done all the things, and you still are like, why is this not working? Why do I still feel like stuck or like I should be further along? Guarantee the issues in your subconscious. And everybody has issues in their subconscious. There's no human being. We all have programming that can be better. Some people have worse programming, some people have better programming. All people have mediocre programming, like, because it comes from your parents. It comes from society.
Yeah.
Your parents are not perfect, and society is definitely not perfect. And we learn everything between the ages of 0 in the mother's womb. That's when the subconscious is developing. So we're taking on our mother's thoughts, feelings, actions, energies that we're literally being absorbed with that. And our subconscious develops between till the ages of 10 to 12. And so everything that you've learned between the ages of 0 and let's say 11,
Yeah.
that is literally who you are right now. That is like it is. It's like that's where you learned about money. That's where you learned about relationships and love. That's where you learned about what's acceptable in society. That's where you learned communication skills. And if you haven't worked on those things, if you haven't gone back and regressed in your subconscious mind, you are literally like a 5-year-old in your life right now. And everybody is.
Yeah. I love this. I'm obsessed. I'm like a huge advocate now, just simply because of my own experience, of course, with Morgan. But I also think too, who you do hypnotherapy with matters. Like, right? Like anything else, like any coach that you hire or specialty doctor, right? it's not just the skill, it's who's facilitating this skill, right? And I know we talked about in your how I asked you the other day, do you consider yourself a practitioner? And you're like, not really. And I was like, do you consider yourself a master? And you're like, yes, right? Tell me, what do you think, brag on yourself, what do you think makes you a master at hypnotherapy?
Because I've been through so much shit and I've been through it, but then walked myself through it, not stayed in it. I can see when people are stuck. I can see like when somebody talks to me, I'm not only like trained to hear the subconscious, but I feel like it's just a skill of mine now to understand. Like when somebody talks to me, I can intuitively understand, okay, like it's like, well, that sounds like they're having a loop with this thing because I've literally been through that. Like
Yeah.
I've been through all, and if I, and, it's not like I never want to like project my experience onto somebody, but I think what makes me so good is I've been through a lot. I've walked myself out of a lot, and I'm also really curious. So I don't look at a problem as like, shit, I can't figure it out. When it comes to the mind, I'm so obsessed with trying to understand. Like it's like my personal, it's like my, what do they say about autistics? We have like
Special interests.
it's my special interest. I just want to know like, but where did this come from? Like, why is this happening? So
Yeah.
my intense curiosity for why
Hmm.
is I think also why I'm so good. So,
Yeah.
often in the beginning, like people would tell me something and I was like, shit, like that's not the answer like that I was looking for, right? That actually became part of my genius is a lot of people would stop at that when I ask you a question. So if you're in hypnotherapy, you converse back and forth and I'll be asking you like, what is this, where does anger live in your body? And you'll tell me, and then I'll be like, why is the anger there? And you'll be like, you'll tell me why, because of my mom. And what happened? Well, I don't know. Like a lot of people stop there.
Yeah.
I I am like, okay, wait a second. Well, we need to, if we don't know why the anger started, just like letting go of anger, I feel like it's not good enough. And also through my own experience of hypnosis, like of hypnotherapy, I'm like, we didn't go deep enough. Like we have to pluck the root out more.
Yeah.
So yeah, just really, I think being really curious has helped as well.
Yeah, I think too, you always say this about me is like you always explain business in such a way that's so simple and it's so easy and it just makes me get it, even though I'm not a business person. I feel the same way about you, but within your work. So like whenever I have a loop or a problem or I'm going through something or was in hypnotherapy, you just explain it in a way that like it's so easy to understand. And you explain it in a way that's like there's no shame, there's no judgment. It's soft and it's just direct and it's like this is how the brain works. This is how it works. And you have that gift, right? I want you to tell people though, like walk us through the session, right? Like obviously I know, but if someone's listening who's never been through hypnotherapy, like
Yeah.
what will it be like? What will they experience? Tell them about the process.
So I do have a process, kind of like rough guidelines, and it looks like we first have to prime the brain to understand what this is. Because when you go into hypnosis or into hypnotherapy, your brain is like, your ego is going to block you from doing that because people think of hypnotherapy or hypnosis, especially that word, is very triggering to a lot of people because they think like she's going to make me cluck like a chicken. Like that's what everybody thinks.
Yeah.
And so the ego is like, okay, I don't know what we're doing. So the first session is really about priming the brain is to understand what we're doing is safe. Because I was scared shitless when this first happened. I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? And I was like resistant for a lot of sessions. Like I didn't get anywhere.
Yeah.
So I really focus in on you are safe. We are just looking at emotions. So in the first session, we'll most likely always just look at emotions. So I do something called emotional release. And it's similar to somatic experiencing without the physical shaking, although the body can actually twinge. So,
Mine
like,
did.
yeah. So, like, emotions are stuck on your energetic body. And what we do is we go and remove those emotions. And those emotions could have been there for 20 years, 5 minutes. Most likely they're from childhood and they've just gotten built up over time, over time, over time.
Yeah.
And then as we go along in sessions, we go a little bit deeper into understanding how is your inner child playing into your life. I help people understand like the different parts of them. And I never really provoke it. I let clients provoke it because I never want to be directing the session. I let clients' brains direct the session because it's not about what I think, right? So if somebody comes to me and is like, I have a codependency loop, I'll just use you as an example if that's okay.
Yeah, of course.
Like when my husband's not at home, I freak out.
Yeah.
So I go and help clients understand, like, first of all, what emotion does that bring up? Let's deal with the emotions that's bringing up first. And then I want to deal with, well, where did that come from? And normally people are like childhood. And I'm like, okay. And then I'll ask people to invite that child into their view because in hypnosis, you can literally see or just understand that you have an inner child. It's sort of like you have an extra vision. You can literally see it.
Yeah.
Most people can. Like your third eye has been, it's different than your third eye, but let's just say it's your third eye. So it's like you have a movie screen going on. And so you invite your inner child in, and we have that part of you explain to you why this pattern is going on. And when it looks like that, you're like, holy shit, like now I remember. And you don't become that inner child again. Like we don't want to re-traumatize. You're witnessing that inner child as an adult. And as an adult, you help her feel safe. You remind her, hey, we are not in the trailer park. We are not, you know, scared because dad died. We are not all of these things anymore. And it's okay that you stop protecting me because what happens is our inner child, these parts of us, they're protecting us. They're protecting us from further harm. But what they're actually doing is causing more harm.
Yeah.
So that's what sessions will look like. And I always end sessions with doing things that bring in gratitude so that you don't leave a session feeling like you're ripped open. Um, yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah. I think it's just also too, it's something to experience. While I know that like you explained it perfectly, experiencing it is on a whole nother playing field. And then when
Yeah.
you do experience it too, you go through this. For me, I did 12 hours. It was 6 sessions, 2 hours long. And I remember the middle between, it was like session 3 to 5. I was like, oh, like I was like it was out of this world experience. I was like going through a dark night of the soul and grief and what is this emotion? And it was just a lot. And I am in a I'm already highly sensitive and emotional as is, but it was just like seeping out of my pores. And then by session 6, I was like feeling way better. And then I went through this month-long period of grief. And then after that, I was like, holy shit, I feel like this is weird. I'm new. It was a wild experience. I would
Yeah.
love for you to tell everyone who would you say is like your perfect client, your perfect ideal client? Who do you love to work with, and what kind of results do you see?
I love working with people who are at a point in their life where they have had enough of their own shit. When they're like, I've either given too much to too many people or I haven't used my voice. I'm sick of my own shit but I don't know what to do. And
Yeah,
that person is my ideal person to work with. They'll do anything, but they don't know what to do. And
yeah,
I'm like, I got you. So, even if you've been in the same loop for 20 years, 30 years, like a lot of the people I work with are like 65 plus. I have like two main people that come to me. It'll be like a young entrepreneur that wants to work through their own stuff so they can make more money, or they're like blocked in business and they're like, why am I not making more money? Or it'll be somebody, 60 and older, but they have something in common. They're sick and tired of their situation and they will do anything to change it. and they've been in loops for a really long time. Maybe they've done work, maybe they haven't done work, but all they know is that they are sick and tired of living in this loop. And it's like that is the person that will experience change so fucking quickly because they're ready, they're open to receive, right? They're open for suggestion, they're open for things to be different, and they desperately want change.
Yeah. I love it. That was such a perfect explanation. Like I can visualize this person. I obviously was one of them, right? But tell everyone how can they work with you? Where can they find you? Your podcast, your socials. We'll obviously link everything below, but what should they dive into first?
My podcast, I would say, my Instagram is awesome, but like my podcast is really where you really get to like meet my personality. And I'm really goofy and I'm like hyper and goofy, but full of depth. So I think I'm really relatable. So my podcast, it's called the Morgan Zack Podcast, and it's on Spotify and Apple. My Instagram, Miss. Morgan, what is it? Miss Morgan Zack, I think.
I
My
think so. We'll
brain.
link it.
And where else am I?
Your course. Tell everyone about your course.
Oh my God, my course. So,
Yes.
okay, I just made a course called Becoming You, and well, I didn't make it. Spirit downloaded it into my body when I was going through that PTSD in the very beginning. I had finished just like an energy healing session and I was sitting there and I had 50 questions downloaded into my crown, like downloaded into me. And I'm like writing them down. It was like when you get one of those downloads, you're like, I must write all this down. And you just like, it just comes in. And I had these 50 questions and I was like sitting there looking at them, bawling my eyes out. And I just knew that if I could walk myself through these questions and embody the answers, that I would get through this PTSD. Like this was how it all came through.
Yeah.
So I did, and it helped me become who I am right now. It helped me become me again, right? Like it literally showed me where my blocks were, showed me what was going on with my relationships, helped me understand my inner world from a different perspective, and it helped me understand my goals, dreams, and desires and how I'm blocking myself from going after them.
Yes.
Um, yeah, so becoming you, it's so then I was like, okay, I'm gonna write a book. I wrote this book, I had a publisher and everything. Then they dropped me last minute. I was like, I've learned already. I'm like, okay, when this shit happens, there's a reason. And then I signed up to work with you. And so I've just turned this book that I wrote into a course, which is actually 10 times better because there's all these videos. I walk you through meditations, I walk you through somatic practices, I walk you through mirror work, how to understand how to listen to yourself, how to love yourself. And I know that's like we hear love yourself, and but there is a real art to understanding that.
Yeah.
And I really dive into that so that you can have an awesome relationship with yourself, other people, your career, and your dreams.
Amazing.
So that is on my website. My website's morganzack.com.
Ah, thank you for sharing. Thank you for being here today. If anyone is listening who is like, this is totally hitting home for you, and you just feel like I've done the things, but I find myself in these loops over and over and over and over again, I cannot recommend Morgan enough. Whether you work with her one to one, whether you buy her course, whether you sign up for her program that's coming out, at minimum, follow her, listen to her podcast, be in her world. She is a light. She is a breath of fresh air. She's a real freaking human that experiences real shit. And she's really good at what she does. So thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much. That means so much to me.
You're welcome. And as always, thank you guys so much for listening, and I will see you on the next episode.